Been a while since I've done one of these, hasn't it? The series is mainly just something to do when I'm, not part of new content in a while because I'm working on something bigger or something else has come up. And recently I've been low on drive to work on videos. I'm still trying to get this video out by the end of the month, but since it's taken a while, I'm going to make this. I think this one's been a long time coming. SoulCalibur. So for this one, I'm going to be using Kevin McNugget's SoulCalibur characters tier list. Now, one thing to note about this tier list is that it has pretty much every character. Some of the bonus characters from SoulCalibur 3 aren't here, and it doesn't have any of the bonus characters from SoulCalibur 4, even though it does have the guests. So the way I'm going to approach this is I'm going to sort the actual canon characters, and then I'm going to do the same for the guest characters, where I'm going to cut half the guest characters, with the rest being kind of on the idea that those characters could come back. One thing I have to note about this, though, that's kind of odd, is that despite being based on SoulCalibur 6, even to the point that, we have Cassandra from Season 2 here, Yoshimitsu's artwork is from 5. I don't see the SoulCalibur 6 version. Now, the one from SoulCalibur 5 is actually a separate character, but I don't see his SoulCalibur 6 incarnation, so bit of an oddity, but not a big deal. Let's start off with the characters that obviously have to stay and keep. We've got Sophia and Cassandra, your boy Siegfried, and Nightmare. I mean, they're obvious ones to keep around. Some of this is going to be based on moveset, like, since we have Maxi Li Long, he's probably not going to get to stick around. Maybe he will, I don't know. Ooh, I'll have to consider these as well, because these two are just bonus movesets for those two characters. So, yeah, I'll have to move those down here and sort them later, along with all the guests. Oh, wait, no, Cassandra was from Season 1 for DLC, wasn't she? Yeah. Well, Elysium can get in the sea. She basically just exists so they could use Sophia without actually using Sophia, because they decided, yeah, Sophia is dead, haha. And they're like, hang on, that's a bad idea. That's a terrible fucking idea. But they didn't relent. Oh yeah, another case of alternate mode, or alternate form. Yeah, some people still say that Amy and Viola aren't the same character, even though Viola's music plays in Amy's story in SoulCalibur 6, from what I understand, so, fuck you. I guess I'll count Necrid as a guest. Just gonna have to move all the guest characters down here to make this a little bit easier to sort through. Okay, I think that's all of them. Now, I hope you guys are ready for a big upset, because I'm going to delete a character that I know a lot of people like, but I fucking don't. See, I was going to do this bit where I'm like, haha, I'm pretending it's Hilda, but then it's not. But I couldn't find the character, I couldn't see where the character was. I found him now. Bye-bye. Yeah, that's right. I'm erasing Mitsurugi in favour of Arthur. Because Arthur is Mitsurugi but better. Because he has the same moveset, but he's got a way more interesting story. Because Mitsurugi's just, I'm going to get the soul edge so I can fight these dudes with guns. And then after that, the guns thing was just completely ignored. Even though it's a decent enough explanation for why he wants power. Because after that, it's just, I want power. He never learns the lesson that no one man should have all that power. He just after the soul edge. It's even more funny in, if we accept SoulCalibur Legends as canon, it's not. But if you imagine it is, because in that game, all the playable characters, including Mitsurugi, learn that both Soul Edge and SoulCalibur are evil. And the characters that would go after Soul Edge to use it, like Mitsurugi, still do so, even after learning how evil it is. Fucking dumb shit. Setsuka needs to come back. It's shocking that they haven't brought her back yet. Hopefully she'll be one of the DLC characters that returns, whether that's Season 2 or 3. Although, of course, I would like to see some new characters, some brand new ones. Because I feel like that's something that people generally don't ask for much when it comes to DLC for fighting games. Something new. Of course, Ivy has to stick around. She's just that iconic. Shanghua and also Keelik. Well, we don't really need the Mimic characters. As much as I like Alkadan, he doesn't really offer too much. I mean, Headmaster at least has story relevance, but they don't really do much with him. Yoshimitsu's going to stick around because he's part of the Tekken connection. I will now... Oh yeah, Hilda. Because she's great. Fuck damn PL. I don't know what the deal with that dude is. Added in the PSP version of 4, and then it was DLC in 5. Like the pre-order bonus. You think about the pre-order bonus for other fighting games and that, you look at NetherRealms games. You have MKX, where the pre-order character is Goro. MK11, where it's Shao Kahn. Injustice 2, where it's Darkseid. And you look at fucking SoulCalibur 5 and it's Dampier. Who fucking gives a shit? I feel like the kind of role that should have been given to Nightmare. Like you have Raphael as Nightmare in the story, and so Nightmare should have an overhauled moveset where he's got Raphael's moveset basically, and then you just have classic Nightmare as a DLC character. You'd expect that to be the case, but no, we're going to put Dampierre there. I guess they did that because it was a character where it's not a big deal if you don't get him. Choosing between Huang and Yonsung because they have the same moveset, basically. Huang's just not... I don't know what much of Huang's story, because he wasn't around for long. Same with Li Long. Like, he... You know, it's kind of unfair to say that those characters are less interesting than those two, because those characters have played in more games, so they got time to be fleshed out and explored, but, you know, who cares? Now, I'm going to keep Tira. Oh, Cervantes as well. Oh, and Zasalamel, and your boy. Finally, one of the new characters from 5, other than SoulCalibur 5 Yoshimitsu, I guess. These two are shit. She's not that interesting. She's not that interesting. And you look at this guy and you're like, you know what? He's there with his stand, hungry like the wolf. And he's pretty cool, you know. Astaroth can stick around, but since I need to delete more characters, I guess that means Rock has to go, unfortunately. Rock's another character I'd like to see them bring back and overhaul, make him play less like Astaroth. Kind of just see what they could do differently with him with SoulCalibur 6 or 7. You know, you think back to, say, SoulCalibur 4, where he and Astaroth didn't even get unique critical finishes. They just had the exact same instant kill move. Fucking sucks. See, Voldo's iconic, but I never really cared for him, to be honest. Put him there for now. Algol is interesting as a backstory character, but as far as the actual narrative goes, not really. I thought it was really cool when they actually put him in SoulCalibur 4, though. You know, the idea that this character who you'd read about in the backstory was now part of the narrative. It's just, it kind of didn't really live up to the hype. And then they put him in 5, and I don't know what his fucking deal is. He's now wearing a loincloth, and he's like, maybe not even human anymore. It might not even be him. It's unclear. Keep Raphael. I'll keep Amy. Since Viola is Amy, she's just going to go into here. Same with these two. I'll sort through these later as well. I'm probably going to cut those two in favour of Viola just because her moveset is more distinct. Whereas here it's like, here's just a way to bring back one of the other Alexandra Sisters movesets, and then this is just based on Setsuka. And we have Setsuka, you know, we have the actual Setsuka, so we don't really need that. But I'll sort that in a minute. Lizardman never really contributed much, and I never found him that interesting to play. As well can get gone, because I don't really care for him. Sorry, Monkey. It's a shame that Johnny Young Bosch, that's the role he got, but fucking Monkey Boy. Also, it really pisses me off that Keelik and Shanghua didn't end up together in the end. Shanghua ended up having a daughter with someone else. But, while she had a daughter with someone else, she did have a son with Keelik, and that's Shiba. They had a kid together, and it's this monkey fuck. Like, get out of here. Leisha should have been the daughter, but she's not that interesting either. If I'm going to keep one of these characters, it's going to be Natsu. She's not that interesting, but she's different from Taki, but in a good way. Whereas Leisha's too similar to her mother, and then Shiba is different from Keelik, but in a bad way. I never cared for Talon, so she can get gone. I'll get rid of these two, which I guess means they have to go as well. I'd let them stay as part of the story, but purely as Sophitia's kids. The adult incarnations are just terrible. Patroclus is just like a huge, like, horrifically unlikable cunt, who Siegfried's like, yeah, you can take SoulCalibur, the only thing that can really destroy Soul Edge. You know, my mortal enemy, I can only destroy it with this sword. You can take it. He doesn't fucking earn it. He's a cunt, and he murders innocent people. Then you have Pyrrha, who's just pathetic. It's really fitting that they cast Laura Bailey for the English version, because the character is just Oichi from Sengoku Basara, but at least with that character we're a lot more understanding of how she suffered. Like, her life is fucking dreadful, whereas with Pyrrha we don't really get to see much of it. See, I like Song Mina, but I don't know, you look at her outfits and she comes off like she's just a fan service character, and that's a shame. I'll drop Headmaster, say he can just be part of Keelik's backstory and just leave it at that. You know, we don't really need Inferno. It's a shame that Night Terror's not on this, honestly. If we're only going to have one alternate version of an existing character, Night Terror would be it, because that's a fucking awesome version of Nightmare. And I think it's a shame we didn't get a SoulCalibur 4-ified version, where he has, like, the mouth torso thing. If you gave that to Night Terror, it'd be even fucking cooler. Damn it. You can only really have one character with that moveset, and Natsu's reliant on Taki, so Taki kind of has to be there. Even though I don't really like Taki that much. Although this is going on the idea of SoulCalibur 7, where they could go from there. So, yeah, we'll just say that Taki, like in SoulCalibur 5, has gone missing and maybe dead, and Natsu is her apprentice. But in this version, Natsu is older. So yeah, I guess that means I have to cut these two for now. Oh, no. I can cut Voldo And then one of these two. I don't even care for this character that much, but, you know, his moveset's more distinct, he offers more in terms of narrative, and a friend of mine really likes him. So, you know, there's a number of reasons to include him and to get rid of Songmin, unfortunately. So before I get into the guests, I'm going to go through these. I'm going to delete these two. I'm going to count these actual characters up. I'm going to go on the idea that Viola could be a separate character in this continuity. Fuck it, why not? I mean, it could be Amy time traveling from the other timeline, or maybe it's just another person who encountered the amnesiac Amy, and then Amy's mind kind of base her new persona on that. So now to go through the guests. What guests would I bring back or remove forever? Well, I would say 2B gets to come back because she has a nice bum, and there is no other reason for it. Yoda can fuck right off. He was fucking dreadful. I never played Darth Vader. And while Starkiller is my second favourite moveset in the entire series, second only to Siegfried, the Star Wars characters really didn't fit, whereas these characters fit a lot better. So Ezio can come back, so can Geralt, and that leaves us with these guys. Because Link would be platform exclusive, and I don't like that kind of thing, he can go, and I guess that means that Heihachi and Spawn get to stick around, and Necrid can get in the sea. Okay, nice and even. So that's a decent roster that we've got left, but now I need to go through. Is there anyone I would want to bring back from Erase Forever? You know, Elysium was just bad. Elysium is so nothing, because the idea is it's the SoulCalibur equivalent of Inferno, and so while he looks like a demon, she looks like an angel, but her form is based on Sophitia, and her moveset is just copying a random moveset from one of the female characters, and that's trash. That's so nothing. Honestly, I think Elysium would have been way more interesting if it just was Sophitia. Okay, so I ran out of room on my hard drive and it stopped recording, and I didn't realise until I was already talking about why Mitsurugi should not come back. And you may notice that the characters have been rearranged. That's because when I came back to the browser, the background was black. So then I thought, oh no, I'll click on... It wasn't presentation mode that was an option, it was something else, I'm pretty sure. So I clicked it and then it kept these but then removed all these. Yeah, so that was a pain. So to quickly get back to what I was going through, yeah, I started Wasted Potential talking about how Sophitia's story would have made way more sense if she got possessed by Soul Edge in SoulCalibur 5 rather than being killed off. And I kind of just had this idea here that Elysium could well have been Sophitia. You know, SoulCalibur offers to purify Sophitia's kid's cursed blood if she becomes its host or avatar or something like that. That would have been way more interesting than it's just SoulCalibur taking on her form to manipulate her son, and then he has no problem killing it once he realizes the truth. Mitsurugi, he's just bullshit boring samurai man who gets to grace the covers of most SoulCalibur games, despite the fact that he's actually contributed nothing to the plot. You know, Cervantes hasn't contributed anything since SoulCalibur 1, but at least he's contributed something, unlike this motherfucker. Arthur is just Mitsurugi but with a way better story, and admittedly Setsuka's story is quite similar to his, but since Setsuka's story is already tied into Mitsurugi, you could rework it so that it's tied into Arthur and that those similarities are intentional. It could be interesting, you know. As well, I know very little about him because I never did get around to finishing the mode in SoulCalibur 6 in which he actually shows up. Charade, there was never anything really to it, it's just a mimic character with an interesting design. Dampier can fuck off. Headmaster, the lack of a unique moveset is part of the problem, but also because he's not really all that interesting as a character. He's just there to be Keelik's master. And so, like how Patroclus and Pyrrha can be fine just as Sophitia's kids and not playable characters, Headmaster is in the same boat. Huang and Li Long, like I said, they're the same movesets as existing characters who were more fleshed out than they were, so those two would get to stay, but these two don't. You know, these two in theory could be more interesting if they were fleshed out more, but and I do genuinely want to see those two characters return, but for the sake of this whole thing, you know, cutting half the roster, I'd rather drop them and keep the two that we know have that interesting story potential, which these two haven't really displayed. Inferno, we don't really need a soul for Soul Edge. Again, Night Terror isn't here, so in theory you could use Night Terror for that instead. Alternatively, you could just have a version of Nightmare and that's it. It's not quite as interesting as having Inferno, but I'd rather have an actual distinct character be included rather than Inferno. Lizard Man, don't really do much. They got these kids. A lot of the kids are just kind of bad or boring. Maybe they could have been the coolest characters in SoulCalibur 5 if they'd actually had some fucking screen time, but they didn't. Alcadan, good for meme purposes, but again, no unique moveset, not much in terms of story. Rock, yeah, if you choose between Rock or Astaroth, Astaroth is more interesting. Although I could totally see Rock getting his own spin-off game on PS5. You know, the whole father-son thing, which is really common in Sony games now. He's protecting Bangu. Actually, Bangu should have been brought into SoulCalibur 5. He should have been one of the new characters. Songmina, you know, we've already got a character with a similar moveset in Keelik, and she doesn't do much in terms of story, and her designs are not that great, and I mean, she's certainly more likeable than Taki and Talim. Talim comes off as a huge fan service character, despite being, what, 15? Actually, I think she's 14 at the current point in the timeline, so Taki and Natsu, choosing between those two, fuck it. Taki's not that interesting. Bye-bye. Voldo is iconic. He's one of the few characters to have been in every single game, but I never really cared for him. Algol, who was not that great. I mean, in theory, you could just reinvent the character. That's one of the benefits of this new timeline, is that if something doesn't work, you can change it. And that's something that, you know, MK could have learned from. Instead of just saying, people didn't like the character in the old timeline, so let's just keep bringing it up, how much we hate him, and just as a joke. And it's like watching Scooby-Doo, the modern versions, when they make all these references to Scrappy, like, haha, remember Scrappy? Don't worry, guys, we don't like Scrappy, he's not going to come back. Shut the fuck up about him then. Either rework him and do something with him, or shut the fuck up. I mean, that's one thing you can say about SoulCalibur. SoulCalibur 6 is like, ha, remember how shit Patroclus and Imperial were when they're older? Ha 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 ha. What? See, guys, we get it. We get it. We're down with the kids. Shut the fuck up and die. Then we have the guest characters. We've got Star Wars characters who never really fit. Yoda was the worst character in the whole series in terms of moveset. I defy you to find a character with a worse moveset than Yoda. Link was fantastic in SoulCalibur 2, and it's a shame that they never did a port of the HD version of SoulCalibur 2 onto the Switch or the Wii U. Imagine if they took that port, ported it to the Switch, and brought Link back. Then you can have all 3 guest characters in it. Well, I mean, I don't know what issues they might have with Spawn, getting him back, but in theory, they could have all 3 of them. I mean, how sick would that be? You finally have the definitive version of the game. But no, that makes too much sense. And the fighting games don't really get re-releases if they're not Street Fighter 2. Fuck you. Then you got Necrid. No one cares about Necrid. Though it's weird that he is still considered canon, because there's like a timeline, I think it's in the SoulCalibur 5 art book, which explicitly references Necrid. That's unusual. So yeah, the characters we're keeping the Alexandra sisters, who are my favourite characters. Siegfried, who's my favourite moveset, and is one of my favourite characters. He's got that great redemption story. And you have Nightmare, of course, iconic, and a good foil to Siegfried. It'll be interesting to see at what point he becomes a separate character like he did in SoulCalibur 3. These two discuss why they're way better than Mitsurugi. Ivy, then you've got the hero trio from SoulCalibur 1 and 6. Yoshimitsu, of course, it's Yoshimitsu, come on. Even if just for no other reason than the fact that Yoshimitsu in Tekken doesn't get good designs very often. Like, what the fuck is up with that squid design? Why do they think that looks good, whereas here is like, let's go somewhat samurai-ish, and he ends up looking way fucking cooler. Like, they're always going for these weird designs that are just kind of fucking dumb in Tekken, whereas in SoulCalibur they're like, let's make him somewhat respectable, despite the fact that in terms of voice, he is way less respectable because he sounds like a weird clown man. Hilda, great. I've still yet to play as her in SoulCalibur 6. I've not got the season pass for season 2 yet. I've heard her story is quite good though. I've got a good authority that is the case, so I'm looking forward to that. Yunsung, fine, bring him back. Tira, she's alright. Cervantes, I mean, it's good for Patrick Sykes to still be getting work in fighting games, NetherRealm, you motherfuckers. But hope they do more with him in this timeline rather than just him sticking around purely to be Ivy's rival and then he becomes human again. Why? Zasanos is one of the most interesting characters, and I feel like he doesn't get enough play. But hopefully, if they start to expand more on the whole potential time travel that created this timeline or something, he will get to be relevant to that. Again, we got Zvi with his stand and he got done dirty, you know. He was a way more interesting character. He should have been the hero. You know, SoulCalibur 5 should have been Patroclus like, I'm the hero. I'm going to take SoulCalibur and I'm going to be the big bad hero man. And Zvi's like, bro, what the fuck? And chases him down. And it's like, it's about the real hero who doesn't think he's the hero having to put a stop to the guy who thinks he is the hero because he's just going to fuck everything up. Astaroth. I want him to keep his heart exposed. It's kind of funny because he kind of looks like a tyrant from Resident Evil. Like if a tyrant picked up like a massive axe, that's what it would be like. Then you have Raphael and Amy. I'm fine with those two, although I do think Amy should get a new moveset. Ideally, this one. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say that Amy will have Viola's moveset, but there will be no actual Viola. That way I get an extra slot to bring back another character. And so if I do that, I'll bring back Voldo. There you go. Voldo gets to come back. Viola's moveset is inherited by Amy. Because Amy's moveset is fine, but it's a bit too similar to Raphael's, at least in concept. It's a shame that they don't really use the characters that were the bonus characters in SoulCalibur 3 much. I mean, they could bring back Arthur. He technically had his own moveset because he's one of the bonus characters that represents one of the custom character movesets from SoulCalibur 3, in the same way that Amy represents the Rapier moveset. But then they expanded that into a more fleshed out thing for her. So I wish they would bring back some of those old movesets more fleshed out, either just for custom characters or have new characters that can use them, or in the case of like these two characters and Arthur, just bring those characters back. And then we have Natsu, who's just a slightly cooler Taki, and then you have this dude who has potential, and then you have Voldo, who's always rolling around at the speed of sound, moonwalking in place, all sorts of mad shit. And that's my SoulCalibur roster. If I was going to cut half the characters, these would all be gone, and these ones would get to stick around. I was getting confused then, because I was thinking, hang on, why the guests here start at this spot, whereas they don't here? They realise, oh yeah, because I moved this character. Anyway, that's SoulCalibur. Yes, there will be a Tekken one at some point. Probably not for a while, because again, this series is mainly just to be there when there's a bit of a drought of content. Things are going to start ramping up soon, so don't you worry about that. But until next time, I don't have anything to sign off with, but for some reason when I was going to say something, the thing that was going to pop into my head for me to say was hi ho, it's off to work we go, which in the current climate is wrong. It's fucking wrong. Just stay the fuck home, for God's sake. You know, people are like, hey, I'm going to go out and do whatever the fuck I want, fuck the quarantine, which makes the quarantine last longer. You know, it's like how there is no greater waste of time than trying to save time. And it stopped recording as I was saying that, so I had to make some room again, just so I could say that. Fuck's sake.